Hello and welcome to this episode of Health in You. I am Sumi Sukanya Dutta, and today we will discuss diabetes and diets. To give it a context, while more than 10 crore Indians are diabetic, another 15 crore have pre-diabetes. The dietary pattern that we follow in the country is something we need to look at. Researchers associated with the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, or MDRF, and ICMR, for example, have just come out with a study which has shown that a majority of the convenience food products in India provide most of the energy from carbohydrates and fat. Also, there is an acute shortage of food products with low glycemic index. To discuss this, we have two very important people with us. Ms. Sudha Vasudevan, Senior Scientist and Head Food Nutrition and Dietetics Department at MDRF, and Ms. Ramya Bai, Research Scholar with MDRF again. Thank you so much, Sudha ma'am and Ramya ma'am, for
Thank
joining
you.
us in this
It's a
conversation
pleasure.
today. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
thank
we'll
you.
start by asking you, Sudha ma'am. First, tell us a little about this analysis. How was it done? What were the key findings, and why is it important?
Okay, if you're talking about the study that nutrition, the products, convenient foods, this was an online product label survey. So where we know that most popular brands of a particular food has been taken for its nutrition facts given in the back of pack label, and the food label ingredients were also taken into consideration, and the entire thing was analyzed against the dietary guidelines principle given by ICMR, National Institute of Nutrition, and also Food Safety Standards Authority of India. And we have our glycemic index testing center, which is one of the labs validated with the international lab. So where we have tested quite a number of foods. Last from 2007, we have been testing the glycemic index of foods, and through various projects, and we offer this research facility for various industry clients as well. So we have known the glycemic indices of the commonly consumed most of our Indian foods, and that goes into a unique software called EpiNu. So we have our own work and a very strong nutrition database, the software that we have, with which we could analyze further too. So now it's very well known that we Indians historically been consuming high carbohydrate diets because cereal staples are a mainstay. Cereals provide predominant source of carbohydrates. So it is historically, right from our grandparents or great grandparents, they've been consuming cereal staples. And with the Green Revolution, we started to move from millets more into rice and then wheat cultivation. So it is more of these are the cereal staples. So the problem now normally is the carbohydrates are so high. Our next important cooking medium is oil, right? The fat. So we have the fat as a common source in all our Indian culinary practices. So carbohydrate and fat have been taken a major out of the total calories you consume. So these are the calorie contributing nutrients are carbohydrate, fat, and protein. Okay. So when they take up so much of a space, like if you take rural India, almost 70 to 75% of the calories comes from carbohydrates. And then very little fat, 15-20. So the protein takes a backstay of lesser amount. So not to underestimate, because the rice, wheat, what we eat also do contribute to a good amount of protein, but the quality of protein is much better in the legume protein, which we consume very less because of the bulk. So as a result, today, the high carbohydrate fat, this is what the consumer, the common man, the public eats. So, and now people started moving away from home cooked foods because of the whatever reason. Even in rural, you find a lot of outside packaged foods have become convenience because they all work long hours and shelf life, and food doesn't stay good in the night when they come back. It's more of a convenient. Even in a tea shop in rural area, you still find cookies and biscuits and puffs and pastries and bread and bun and rusk and all of those things, right? This is all a process. Right? So they become the norm today for whatever the work life balance, both in rural and urban. So we ended up eating more of that. Now, the amount of carbohydrate that what we eat is so high. And if you take even in an earlier paper, we have published that in the market shelf space, you take either from a supermarket or from a local kirana shops or a grocery or mandi, you find the predominant products today. You can read the label, the first ingredient or second. That itself will tell you that it is predominantly from the cereal grains, those which are starchy in nature now. And the cereal grains that are commonly available now are stripped off from the bran and everything. It is more a refined grain, like white rice based grain or maida based items, So as a result, we are taking excess amount of carbohydrate quantity and the quality with such refined where the bran nutrients, which are filled with micronutrients, they are stripped off. So we are taking the refined grains. And what is wrong with the refined grains? You may want to know. That is exactly the glycemic index. Refined grains, what our GI tract, gastrointestinal tract, our stomach has to do, it is done at the intestine. It's like a pre-digested. So when you eat such a food, it goes quickly digested and it raises the blood sugar like a speedometer of a car. The property of the carbohydrates in such grains is so high and it raises the blood glucose very, very fast.
Very
So as a
quickly.
result, so it's a double penalty with carbohydrate. We are a nation of eating high carbohydrate diet, which is a culture specific or historic, you may say. And on top of that, the quality of these staple grains have gone so bad. And as a result, the glycemic indices of most of these products are very high. On top,
Yeah.
that many
So basically,
markets
they're
have
largely simple carbohydrate product that people are consuming.
see the simple and complex are very chemical classification. Rather, we have to say glycemic carbohydrate and non-glycemic. See, for example, white rice is not a simple. It doesn't have sugar. It has got
Hmm.
starch, but it behaves very quickly like a high GI. So it is a glycemic carbohydrate. So if you
Okay.
take simple carbohydrates, chemically is only called monosaccharide dye, like all sugar, honey, jam, all those wherever the added sugar goes in. What is the simple sugar? But it is not that. So the body deals with. Body deals with glycemic carbohydrate. Anything that quickly digests and speed, which is all this refined cereals like maida based and those kind of thing. And on top of this quality of carb, we add so much of fat into it and make it. And then nutritionally it's quite imbalanced in that sense. So our diet becomes grossly unhealthy in that sense, and we lack the amount of protein that we eat. That too, the good quality protein is also missing in our diet in that sense. We
Yeah.
consume predominantly a cereal protein. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all the important information from that study. Now, Ramya ma'am, I would like you to please share a little about an earlier study by the MDRF, in which you had shown that the diets which are rich in advanced glycation end products or high age could be how they are, sort of fueling India's diabetes crisis that we all know that we are dealing with.
So the thing is, as Sudha ma'am said, Asian Indians are more likely to develop insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and heart related issues. So, in this study, we wanted to assess the effect of low advanced glycation end products versus high advanced glycation end products in the diet that comes how we consume the food. The effect was mainly assessed using these foods to mainly assess the effect on inflammation, insulin resist. I mean inflammation in oxidative stress, lipid profile, and blood sugar levels. So we assess the effect of the low and high AGs among overweight and obese adults for a period of 6 months for each, 3 months for each diet. So the participants were provided with both the diets, and the difference was assessed, mainly assessing their inflammatory levels, oxidative stress, blood sugar levels, and also the lipid profile. So the key findings we found through this feeding trial was the insulin sensitivity was greatly improved in the low advanced glycation end product based diet compared to the high AG diet or the advanced glycation end product diet. This was mainly seen through the oral disposition index, which is one of the marker for assessing the insulin secretion by the pancreas. Secondly, there was an improvement or in the blood sugar levels in the low when the participants who consume the low dietary advanced glycation end product based diets compared to the high AG diet. So this was followed to show that yes, low AG diet has more option of more preference to show that this will have a reduction in the levels of the blood sugar level overall, the inflammation as such, because during the study we found, and also at the end of the study we found that the inflammatory levels in the blood as such was greatly reduced, significantly reduced in the low age diet compared to the high age. And also the oxidative stress markers and other markers, though there was no significant difference, but there was a slight reduction compared to the high age diet, considering the insulin resistance that is usually measured using the HOMA-IR, and also the lipid profile and other markers considering in this study. So adding to that, what we could say is, yes, choosing a better, making a better food choices is an option for managing the or preventing the prevention of diabetes and other associated risk factors. So using use of better cooking property, like you cook smarter, cooking, using a traditional manner of boiling and steaming, rather going for deep frying and roasting, will help you to opt for a better, so that there is no more AGs are formed in the food during cooking. Secondly is to choose fresh foods, fresh fruits, vegetables, and also whole grains. These have comparatively low AGs compared to the refined and processed or highly processed packed foods. So this is what we come
Yeah.
to the conclusion of the findings of the study.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
To top up what Ramya said, I think the fundamental understanding, because it's a very new concept, advanced glycation end product, is very difficult for a common person to grasp it. So, but what is really need to get it is chronic inflammation. Inflammation in the body itself is a trigger for getting diseases like, even obesity, diabetes. Cardiometabolic risk is a broader term that we can cover. Heart disease, diabetes, obesity. That shows the body, a biological substance, body itself, right, which can produce this inflammation, and due to whatever environmental factors or genetically prone factor, and leading to the disease. And food itself is also another biological material, right? Food, what we eat. So that also develops these inflammatory marker with unhealthy cooking and processing practices. The food develops. So people don't understand that advanced glycation end products mean they immediately think it is in the body, that marker. But we need to understand the food also produce such. That's why it's called dietary advanced glycation end product, being a biological sample. When it undergoes thermal, heating, time process, so many various factors, this can also trigger the cooking effect of the food, triggering unhealthy inflammatory marker. So when you eat such an unhealthy food, either unhealthiness comes from the nutritional composition and the quality of the nutrition, on top of the processing and cooking of the food. So this can also contribute to the unhealthiness. So it becomes very, it's like overwhelming for a general public. Then what to eat, they might think, you are saying this is good, this is bad, and this is inflammatory producing, and that is the high GI, and this is saturated fat, and this is contained trans fat, and the news that comes in, because everybody is like a compartmentalized research. It is very challenging to have a comprehensive research on every aspect of that. To prove through a human trial is very, very, it's a Herculean task to design a study ambitiously. On top of that, now we are talking about environmental factors also, planetary healthy diet. So it's growing body of science that keeps adding on. Now, what is one bottom denominator with all the research finding? If you read those papers, the conclusion is eat more varied food. Do not eat only everyday dal chawal, dal chawal, dal chawal. That doesn't give you, that's a monotonous diet. So you have varied diet. You have more vegetables. Even vegetables, you have variety. Fruits, you have variety. So what we're saying, the whole grain. So coming to the quality, instead of refined grain, choose whole grain. They are definitely better. And fruits and vegetables, and which are very micronutrient dense and more fiber contributing, and add more protein food, which is lacking in our Indian diet. So add more dal, more dairy sources, and which we have shown that dairy in our population seems to be really working very well, still good. So, and then you take up, come to the other cooking component, processing part. So the basic food quality, which is nutrition quality, plus the handling of the food. How do you handle the food? Either you buy packaged food or you cook at home or you go to a restaurant and pick up. Be smarter to choose what you can. We are not saying that one should not eat away, oh, that is what is melting. The chips melt in my mouth. And, those are the very addictive foods, probably, if I quote so. Then, yes, you decrease the frequency. You don't have it every day or weekly, thrice or 5 days. Maybe once a month, yeah, you can have a cheeky day and you wanted to eat it. It's fine. But do not bring into the culture of eating every day. Without chips, my child or adult cannot eat at home, the meal. I need a deep fried item. Snack means I need only pakodi. I need only vada. So that behavior, that is what is we are worried now. The population as it is, we are burdened with already the poor quality of diet. On top of that, we borrow all these fast foods and, the unhealthy highly processed foods, if my so, which are very high in fat, salt, sugar, which is what is a ready to convenience foods. If you see cookies, they are high in fat. Or if you see chips, some of them are very high in salt. Or if you see some beverages, they are very high in sugar. This seems to be very common foods, the convenient food that you get in the market. Irrespective of the age, for all age group, this is a problem. They have to get. It is not that something nice. I think it would be nice with the aging population of the country. You could have for an elderly specific products and for a youngster differently. It is not there. So this is how the processing of handling the method, both at industry level or at a house level, we need to pay attention not to trigger such inflammation producing in the food itself, which when we consume will add to the load of body inflammation and it will causing more double whammy, right, to get that disease. It's like triggering a gun. That's what we say, that environmental factor of diet coming in. So I think that has to be told. So we took up the study first time in the country to do with the glycation end product and to see there is no cutoff. It's not necessary that somebody says, how do I know what I'm eating, how much glycation end product? You don't have to know. All you have to know that you are eating a healthy prepared food, So that definitely it will not have less. So
the key message here is include a lot of vegetables and fruits. Eat
correct. And in a very simple cooking.
Ultra processed food. And also one important point, like Ramya ma'am was mentioning, was if the cooking time is lesser, if you boil and steam food instead of frying and deep, these are
exactly.
the
High temperature, longer time
high
cooking.
Heat temperature,
High temperature is
heating temperature is something which has a
So when we say that do not eat processed food, today everything is packaged, right from our rice down. So what we meant by is highly processed with lot of additives and lot of added sugar, salt, fat. That's what we meant by those kind of a convenient foods, which comes with a loaded fat. Like people buy the frozen paratha, which is already loaded in fat. On top of that, when they make, so the consumer need to know to read the label, need the nutrition. These kind of awareness is very much needed. It's getting better now, definitely. And
very true. People need to read the label to understand what they are consuming.
Because internationally, all the additives are coded number, but you can just Google the number, it will tell you. So
and one key message I keep hearing from nutrition experts like you is that, if anything, if there is any ingredient in the packet that you are consuming from is not what you use in your kitchen, then probably it's not good for you, right?
That's a very one common mantra you can say. But industry may use them for a preserve for longer life in a packaged life. So in our kitchen, our shelf life is
flavor enhancers, for example, apart from preservatives, a lot of these ingredients are also used.
Yeah, it is all now evolving. So they are saying that a lot of additives, emulsifier, but we don't have a study with our Indian population to show it, But a lot of Western studies have already shown that effect of too many additives. They call
and how they raise the risk of non-communicable diseases.
Correct. And recent Indian Dietary Guidelines 2024 has beautifully come up with the same process, different categories like how the Western world did the ANOVA. So they do call us. So keep cooking simple and lesser time. That's what we needed because today that is culture is even the green vegetable like lady's finger and they need to be really fried in oil. People don't like, who will eat boiled vegetable of lady's finger, they would wonder, or brinjal, those kind of a thing. That attitude towards food. So one need to be, I always say that it's becoming like a food racism, People like anything that is white in color, like fluffy white idlis are preferred because they think that's, people expect the idli to melt in their mouth, they don't even want to bite. So what for the teeth? So anything that melts in your mouth, be it chips or white fluffy idli, so that is going to get digested very quickly. So the purpose of teeth is you're supposed to chew well, right? That is why we talk about wholesome, Instead of taking fruit juice, take the whole fruit. So don't process it to the juice
Get
level.
the fiber that way also.
We are cutting the fiber there. So what nature provides, be close to the nature as it provides as much as possible if we can consume. It's definitely a no-brain, simple advice in that sense, Yeah.
So one point you mentioned, ma'am, was that, this study actually aimed to look at whether the food that people who are elderly need is available in the market, right? So, stemming from that, the question I have is, do people who are probably after a certain beyond age need different kind of food compared to the younger people? If yes, what is?
Yeah, of course. This is the first time ICMR, National Institute of Nutrition, has come out with the dietary and nutrient requirements for elderly separately. See, as you know, as you grow older, you lose your teeth. Many are on dentures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all your digestion process slows down. They all live with many diseases, not diabetes. Above 60, you may find person with diabetes may have blood pressure and may also have cholesterol problem. So, and we need to have a comprehensive wellness foods, not just with the low GA. And many people think that the glycemic index low doesn't speak an umbrella term for the entire holistic approach. For example, to tell you, ice cream is a low glycemic index. Does it mean it's a healthy food choice? Chips is anything deep fried. Any food that contains carbohydrate like sugars or starch plus fat, higher the fat, like samosa will be a low glycemic index. It doesn't mean it is healthy. So that is why we need to be very careful where the glycemic index claim has to go with the product, which should be nutritionally otherwise healthy. It only speaks about the carbohydrate quality. It doesn't speak about the fat or protein quality. So one need to really think. So there is a big international carbohydrate consortium, quality consortium, where they really give you even the GI calculator for industry formulators to know whether the product is eligible for a GI testing. It
About time probably we adopted those standards here in India.
In our center, we adopt for all GI testing. We want the client, your product, please go back and reformulate. They do that. Industries oblige. So this is the awareness they should come. Even the sodium is included, saturated fat is included in GI testing. So GI testing is meant for a healthier food or healthier diet, how to build the quality of carbohydrates. Okay, this is one part. And now, having said that, we consume high carbohydrate. Our recent ICMR in-depth study, you must have also seen a publication where we have shown that we always, when the carbohydrate goes up, something else comes down. It is always all the three macronutrients predominantly contribute. So when I say that high carbohydrates, it clearly tells you we are eating low protein or low fat. When the fat is also chasing behind carbohydrate high, then it pulls the protein further down. So people always thought when they cut carbs, they were increasing fat. That's why all this keto diet, paleo diet, all of them, they said we go to a low carb diet, very low carb diet, and they were eating super crazily very high fat, which is also not good. So we know that fat has more calories than carbohydrate per gram of grain. So what we need to do for Indians in our diet, you have to cut carbs and increase proportionately the protein. So the protein, when you have to increase, that's where the challenge comes, because protein sources for a vegetarian, animal sources foods are protein high, but you have to choose for a lean meat options, right? Like plant protein is better. Even dal has got 50% carbohydrate, whereas cereal grains like rice, wheat, millet have got 70-75% carbs. So when you cut down your cereal grain, you increase dal, meaning even it could be a simple your idli dosa batter, decrease the proportion of rice and increase the proportion of dal in that. And if you make your pongal or khichdi, decrease the proportion of rice and increase the proportion of dal. That's a simple way to look at it. People normally take 1/4 dal and 3/4 rice, cut down, make it half and half, something like that. This is what we meant, and improve your more of your dairy product, which are low fat is definitely preferable, and have that. This is
You mentioned fad diets. Now, Ramya ma'am, could you speak a little about from diabetes point of view, especially? Do these fad diets, like she mentioned about, keto diets and other trends that people want to catch up with, are they any good for diabetics or those?
Do you think it is good? As a research perspective, we can say that no. We always prefer the traditional cooking methods, or to go with what our ancestors were dealing with, use of whole grains or the use of fresh vegetables and fruits. But nowadays, with going with the fad diet or the keto diet is something. More of a modernized way of telling that you can go with the highly processed foods, or I feel that I think even Sudha ma'am will also go with what I say, to avoid use of fad or keto diets in diabetes management.
See, these are all the extreme diets, Sumi Sukanya, the if I will call you so. These extreme diets, you're going on very high carb our diets, and now it's like all or none law, from all the way dropping, it's like a pendulum. You're coming on the other end with a high fat diet. So everything, the simple healthy diet.
No extremes, though. So the message is no extreme.
Message is no extreme, no extreme, and be realistic, and which you can sustain over a long time. This keto and fat diet, how many years can you be? They all wanted to. We have not gained weight overnight. My 10 kilos weight has not come. I slept the next day morning, I saw my weight has gone up by 10 kilos. Not so.
Doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like that. When you've gained over a time the weight, and it's only fair to lose the weight over a time. You cannot have a quick solution. Within a week, I want to lose 5 kilos, 10 kilos. People go with the keto paleo, and they do see loss of weight in that sense because of the metabolic component there. But that they cannot sustain, taking a butter in the tea, eating only butter, eating only high-fat food choices. You cannot. So you have to go with your family, traditional habits of your food. And that's why eating is a joy, to sit with the family and eat. So go with your cultural habits. If you deviate, you cannot sustain for a long. So whatever you eat, do it in moderation. So cut carbs. We are not talking about low carbohydrate or very low carbohydrate. We are eating up to 70, 75, or in urban it is 60. Come down to 50 to 55.
Moderation is the message, basically.
50 to 55. Still half your calories can be carbohydrate. And that reduction in carb should not replace fat to go up. Rather, it is a protein that we have to concentrate to go up, is what our studies are pointing the recommendation for healthy diet, and even the country to look at it in that way. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Sudha ma'am and Ramya ma'am, for joining us. Very insightful information. I'm sure our viewers will benefit from it. Really appreciate both of you joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.